Hello guys, and welcome to the next deck profile video. Today we're going to take a look at the deck profiles from the Labyrinth of Nightmare versus Pharaoh's Servant matchup. So I'll go ahead and start with the Pharaoh's Servant deck. Of course, in this deck I was just playing kind of beatdown, so I put in the strongest 4-star monsters, which were on the one hand the Harpy's brother, so I put in 3 copies of this guy with 1800, he's pretty decent. And then I put in another bunch of vanilla monsters with 1700. There were not really any other monsters, so I had a few spaces in the deck left and I needed some more monsters, so I put in 1 copy of each of those because they're the second strongest monster with 1700 in the deck, or I guess the third strongest if you count the Goblin attack force. So I put in 3 of those guys. Then the next monster is the Fiend Mega Cyber. I put in 2 copies of this guy. Of course the effect is really strong for these kind of duels. If your opponent controls 2 more monsters than you do, you can special summon this guy from your hand, so that's really good, especially because this guy has 2200 attack. Then the next monster is 3 copies of the Goblin attack force. Of course this is the strongest card in the whole set that has 4 stars, so you want to play 3 of this guy, but then again, once you attack it gets turned to defense and it has 0 defense, so you don't want to rely on that card. And the next monster is Gearfried the Iron Knight, another 1800 in the set. So of course I was playing this guy. His effect that you cannot equip any equip cards to him did not really matter. Of course I was playing Premature Burial, but there were enough other monsters in the deck that I thought that would be alright to play 3 of this guy. Then of course I played 3 copies of the main monster of the set, which is YuGiOh. Although YuGiOh did not help that much because Labyrinth of Nightmare doesn't have a lot of traps and my friend wasn't playing that many traps. But it's still a decent monster with 6 stars and 2400 attack, so you want to play 3 of this guy. And last but not least, I played some utility monsters, one being the Morphing Jaw number 2, which always can help you out the board if you're in a disadvantage. You just set this guy, and if your opponent attacks him or if you flip him face up, the whole board gets wiped and the duel gets kind of reset. I only played 2 copies of that guy because it can also be a drawback to have him on the hand. Like if you have a lot of monsters on the field and your opponent does not, then this guy does not help you. And then again, if you play this guy, there is a huge potential that you lose a big chunk of your deck if you do not draw any monsters and you just draw spell and trap cards. So if you play 3 of them, you might deck out or something. I just didn't want that. And the last monster being the 4-star Ladybug of Doom. Of course this is also another card that kind of outs the opponent's board, and I was thinking if my opponent plays a lot of 4-star monsters and I'm in a disadvantage, I can always set this guy to get rid of most of his stuff. He might have 1 or 2 tribute monsters in his deck, but still this 4-star Ladybug of Doom will get rid of most of the stuff he was playing. Yeah, so that's it for the monsters. Then for spell and trap cards, I wasn't playing a lot of spell cards because, you know, Pharaoh's Servant has only trap cards in it. But of course one of the best spell cards in the set is the Nobleman of Crossout, of which I was playing 2. I didn't want to play 3 because I knew Labyrinth of Nightmare doesn't have too many like flip effect monsters that you want to set. I mean, there are some 2000 defense monsters, but then again these are not really dangerous because they do not do anything. So I just put in 2 of this guy. Then I put in 2 Premature Burials. Again with this card, you cannot get back the Gearfried the Iron Knight, and since I was also playing Call of the Haunted, I only played 2 of this card, and I mean it also costs some life points, and the more cards you have in your deck that cost life points, the worse it is for you, so I thought I'm just going to play 2 of this guy. And then I was playing 1 Nobleman of Extermination, just because why not. There were some trap cards in Labyrinth of Nightmare, so I thought I might as well play this guy to get rid of something. Then for trap cards, I was playing 3 copies of the Call of the Haunted. Basically, I was rather playing this card because it has no cost. You can get gear feedback with it, and you can activate it in the opponent's battle phase or end phase or whatever to have some more utility than with the Premature Burial. So I was playing 3 copies of that thing. Then I was playing also 3 copies of Dust Tornado. I knew in Labyrinth of Nightmare there's a lot of like continuous trap and equip spell cards, and I knew that my friend would be playing Mage Power and United We Stand, so 3 Dust Tornado was absolutely required in this duel. Same goes for the next card, which is one of the strongest cards ever released, being the Imperial Order. Again, with all the equipped cards that were in Labyrinth of Nightmare that are pretty strong, I wanted to make sure that I have something against these cards. So I was also playing 3 Imperial Orders. And the next thing with that card, of course we're playing the pre-errata effects, so I can destroy this card at any time I want during my standby phase, so I couldn't block myself with it, so why not play 3 copies. And for the rest of the trap cards, I was playing some different utility cards. One being the Mishisor. Of course, this is a good card to destroy one of your opponent's monsters if one of yours gets destroyed. So that's a nice thing if my opponent gets out a tribute monster somehow. Then I was playing 2 Magic Drains, again against the equipped spell cards and potentially some other spell cards in Labyrinth of Nightmare. And the last card was the Mirror Wall. Also a very good card in this kind of duel. If my opponent gets out a strong tribute monster and attacks me, I just activate the Mirror Wall. This monster gets most likely destroyed, takes some damage, and in the next turn I can just get rid of the Mirror Wall. Or if I really need it, I can even pay the 2000 life points to keep it on the field, so it's a decent card. But again, I didn't want to put in 3 copies to not clutter up the deck too much, because it is a continuous card and it has a pretty high cost if you want to keep it on the field. But yeah, that's it for the Pharaoh Servant deck. Let's check out the Labyrinth of Nightmare deck. Of course, my friend was playing 3 of the Gemini Elf. This card is the strongest monster that was released until the set with 4 stars. It's at 1900 attack, so you want to play this guy. And for other normal monsters, he was playing 3 Humanoid Slimes. With the 2000 defense, you want some walls in your deck, so he was playing this guy. And then he was playing 2 Amphibian Beasts. This guy can keep up with the Jinzo. It's also a 6-star monster with 2400 attack. So if you're really in a pickle against Jinzo, I guess you can summon this guy and do a 1-for-1 at least. And for the effect monsters, we have 3 Kaiko the Ghost Destroyers. Of course, another 4-star with 1800, so that's really good. And then again, there is also this effect, and since I was playing 3 Call of the Haunted and Premature Burial, it's pretty decent if you remove all the cards or all the monsters from your opponent's graveyard. So if this guy does battle damage, you can remove 2 monsters, and that's pretty decent if you're playing against a lot of revival cards. Then my friend was playing 3 Hysteric Fairies. Again, he was just playing this card because it was one of the strongest monsters in the set with 4 stars and 1800, so that was decent. I don't think he wanted to use the effect. It says you can tribute 2 monsters from your side of the field to increase your life points by 1000, and that's a really bad effect. Then next he was playing another wall monster with the Forgiven Maiden. It's 4-star 2000 defense, so you can wall your opponent a little bit. I don't think he played this card for the effect either. It says, offer this face-up card as a tribute to return one of your monsters destroyed in battle during this turn to your hand. So this card does not really make sense, because the monster would have had to been destroyed during your own battle phase, so that means... Well, I guess it's decent if you play against Mirror Wall and Dust Tornado that can be activated on your equipped spell cards, but still I don't think the effect is very good of this card. Then again, we have the Zambira the Dark. Also pretty strong monster. It's 4-star 2100 attack, but it has the drawback every time this monster destroys another monster in battle, it loses 200 attack and it cannot attack directly, so he was only playing 2 of this guy. And the last monster he played was Basu the Soul Eater. Also a very good monster from back in the day. He was only playing 2 copies because he didn't want to remove too many monsters from his graveyard, because when you get to the trap cards, he was also playing the Skull Lair, and the Skull Lair also removes monsters from play, so I guess he didn't want to draw Basu, but he has no monster in the graveyard, which would be kind of a dead draw, because if you don't have any monsters to sacrifice for this guy, he only has 1600 attack, and that's kind of worse than the boosted Basu with 1500 attack, 2500 attack. But yeah, so let's check out the spell and trap cards he was playing. Of course, as I was saying before, yeah, we have the equipped spell cards that are very strong in the set. So he was playing 3 Mage Powers and also 3 United We Stands. These were like the best equipped spell cards that were out for a long time, and I also remember that these two were limited for a long time. But again, against Pharaoh Servant, they are not that good because I was playing all the Dust Tornadoes and Imperial Orders and Mirror Walls and stuff. And all of these cards could stop these equipped cards. And then he was playing two Mask of the Accursed. Just to stop my monsters. Like this card can be activated on Jinzo, then Jinzo cannot attack anymore, and your opponent loses 500 attack during each of your standby phases, so that's pretty decent. And for the trap cards he was playing, as I just said, two Skull Layers. Of course, he also didn't want to play 3 copies because on the one hand it's a continuous trap, and playing 3 of that guy would clutter up your deck. And then again, you only have so many monsters in your graveyard that you can remove, and if you play Bazoo and this card, then you most probably don't have too many monsters in your graveyard. Then he was playing 3 Magic Cylinders. Of course, this card back in the day was really strong. And versus Pharaoh Servant, besides the Jinzo, of course, if you like use this Magic Cylinder on a Goblin attack force, then your opponent takes a huge chunk of damage. And he was playing 3 Jaw of Greeds. Again, just to thin out his deck and draw the good cards a little faster. And the last card he played was the Torrential Tribute. You saw it during the duel. It helped him out quite a bit. He destroyed a lot of monsters with it. Of course, it's a very strong card. Was played in most decks back in the day, and of course you play 3 copies of it if you got it in your deck. It's basically a dark hole in a trap card. But yeah guys, so that's it for the deck profiles of the Labyrinth of Nightmare versus Pharaoh Servant match. I hope you enjoyed. Again, leave a comment with suggestions how you would have built the decks, and I'll see you guys next time.